I seem to have had more panic attacks, anxiety, and paralyzing fear than most people I know. Yet somehow I've done more of the exact things that many people tell me they're too afraid to try. If I were to judge myself and my emotions, historically, I would say that I've been an anxious person. Luckily, I know better than to identify with that label. So, what explains this? It's not blazing self assured confidence, because there's been times I felt highly uncertain, yet still taken that action to manifest incredible things in my life anyway. And it's not by starting out as a calm and self assured person, because historically I've had so much fear, anxiety, and trauma in my body and fearful thoughts in the mind. In a way, having so much fear actually pushed me to overcome it more often. It forced me to understand fear on a deep level. I had to, because if I hadn't, my affliction would have paralyzed me completely. I would have never have got anything done. I would have stayed stuck in my safe day job, and I would have not created any of the things that I have in my life now. I remember when I quit my safe day job as a maintenance electrician to go all in on my business. My mind was screaming, "It's not going to work out. I don't know what I'm doing," on repeat like a broken record of doom. My body felt like it was sometimes being electric shocked with all the fear and nervousness. My palms would sweat every time I thought about announcing my services or drafting that resignation letter. It felt like I was about to commit career suicide or something. But there was something deeper, something in the background that knew this was the right move, despite my racing thoughts. I had done the preparation, built the foundation, so I clicked send on the resignation email. And the next few months were a roller coaster. New clients would come in, followed by unnerving periods of silence. But within about 6 months, it was obvious the business was consistently bringing in more than my old salary. And more importantly, I was finally doing what I love, connecting with people, beautiful people, to co-create transformation in their lives through deep inner revelation, instead of just fixing toilet seats, plug sockets, and door handles for a supermarket as a maintenance electrician. I also felt terrified to talk in front of an audience. Just imagining sitting there on a group Zoom call with all these faces in front of me sent my nervous system buzzing and my muscles tightening up. But after facing that fear, and doing it anyway, a few group calls later I realized it wasn't that the fear magically disappeared, but I learned to approach it differently. I learned to welcome it rather than trying to suppress it and run away. You see, the fact is, going to do these things, and even thinking about doing these things, is what triggers the fear. It's what brings it all up in your body. These uncomfortable sensations and nervous system activation that fuels the chaotic, doubting thoughts. And so, this is why most people back out, because they're terrified of this. And I get it, I was too. Fear just seems so terrifying, something we feel like we don't want to experience because it feels like it's just going to be too uncomfortable and disorientating. But what I discovered is that this is what happens when we don't understand it, and we don't know what it's made of, and we don't know how to approach it. When we understand it, know what it's made of, and know how to approach it, everything in your life can shift. Because the huge monster that you thought it was, that kept you paralyzed on the bed for days, not taking action to create your dreams, turns out to be nothing more than bodily sensations and thoughts. Now, that's not to invalidate their relative seeming realness and the whole challenge of it. I know it can feel tough because I've experienced so much of it on a deep level, but once you can really see it for what it is, you can see through its illusion, release it, and begin to flow with your creative activities, watching your whole world change around you. And you can finally connect with what's important to you, what you really care about, what you love, and what lights you up, without this constant insecurity that it's not going to pay off or it won't work out anyway. You can feel lighter in your body as your nervous system is not constantly activated into fight, flight, freeze, and all your muscles are tight. And this has a positive knock-on effect on your health because the constant stress of constant fear drains your energy and weighs your body down. Releasing it from your body means your nervous system relaxes, the muscles relax, and the body can start functioning and repairing itself a whole lot better. You can start to do things in your life and overcome challenges that you previously thought were impossible. And you can start to positively contribute to the world in the ways you've always meant to and the ways you've always wanted to. You can creatively flow with a natural trust and ease. You have access to a wellspring of energy that was being burnt up by all your fear and trying to distract yourself from the discomfort, which now flows into unleashing your greatest gifts and talents. And that's what we want, right? So what is fear really? And why does it seem to have such a grip on us? Most people experience fear as some kind of solid, real thing, or they believe they are the one who has too much fear and therefore conform to that belief. But if you look closely, you can see that it's actually made up of two components: physical sensations in the body and thoughts in the mind. The physical component is simply your nervous system doing what it was evolved to do, preparing you for potential danger by activating that fight, flight, freeze response. Your heart beats faster to pump more blood to your muscles, your breath quickens to try to get more oxygen, and your muscles tense up ready for action. These are just physical sensations at their core. They're not inherently bad or wrong. In fact, they're often the exact same sensations you feel when you're excited about something. The only difference is the story your mind is telling about them. And that's the second component, the mental overlay of fearful thoughts and stories. What if I fail? What if I look stupid to everyone? What if I lose everything? These thoughts seem so real and compelling in the moment, but they're just that, thoughts. They're not facts about reality. And here's where most people get stuck. They believe that they are these thoughts or sensations. They believe that they are this separate, limited person who's at mercy of the fear. But the profound truth is, you are not the fear. You are this awareness in which the apparent fear appears. You are this infinite consciousness that's already allowing these sensations and thoughts to arise and pass away. Now, don't get this wrong. This isn't some spiritual bypass or philosophical concept. It's immensely practical at its core, because when you recognize your true nature as this boundless awareness, you gain an entirely new perspective on fear, because you see that no thought, sensation, or experience, however intense, can ever harm what you truly are. You can investigate this in your direct reality. Has your essential nature, this aware presence that you are, ever been damaged or diminished by any fearful thought or sensation? No matter how many panic attacks or nervous, anxious episodes you've had, this aware presence remains completely untouched, completely at peace. Awareness or consciousness is like the screen on which the content is appearing. The content, in this case, is the fearful thoughts and feelings, right? Or whatever circumstance you might be facing. But do any of these things harm the screen? No, the screen remains undisturbed. In fact, the screen and the content are inseparable. In the same way, awareness and its content is inseparable. They arise as a single appearance, and any interpretation of what it all means is a layer of mental concepts over the top. So with this knowledge, you are free to experience fear whilst knowing it can't harm or overwhelm you, and that no matter how intense the bodily sensations are, how chaotic and doom-filled the thoughts are, they can never touch who you really are, your true nature, consciousness. So how do we approach the fear when it arises? Let me share with you exactly what I've discovered. And before I do, just a quick note to say that if you're enjoying this content and you're interested in potentially working with me one-on-one to, for example, release fears and embody your true nature and consciously create your dreams, a few more slots have opened up with a free call to speak to me about whether you'd be a good fit for the Awaken Aware program over at speaktoalex.com. That's speaktoalex.com. Simply fill in a few details about your current challenges and your heart's desires, and we'll talk about how I can potentially be of deep service to you, and we'll go from there. But with that being said, the first key is to recognize you're not trying to get rid of fear or achieve some special state where fear never happens. That would just be more of the mind's attempt to control experience. And guess what? It ends up just fueling more resistance to the fear and therefore more fear and resistance. Instead, this is about seeing fear for what it really is, realizing it's ultimately nothing to be afraid of, and allowing a shift in the body, mind, and nervous system to occur. Because consider this. What's your usual response when fear arises? You see, most of us try to push it away through distraction, endless scrolling, eating, drinking, substances, or busying themselves with work, only to find their efforts personal and stress-driven and creating substandard results. Or we get completely consumed by it, believing every thought, identifying with every sensation, until it ramps up into a panic attack and we're desperately scrolling through YouTube trying to find deep breathing exercises to calm down. But there is another way. Instead of running from the fear or fighting with it, you can turn towards it with curiosity. Not as a person who's trying to overcome their fear, but as awareness, consciousness itself, naturally allowing experience to unfold. First, you root yourself in the knowledge of yourself as open awareness. This isn't intellectual knowledge or telling yourself a story about how I am awareness and so I'm safe. It's about seeing and experiencing the real existential safety that's the essence of your being. You stay perceptually open as open awareness, allowing everything, every experience, every thought and feeling to arise and fall without resistance, and see that no matter how intense it is, it does not harm or disturb your essential nature, this beingness, this awareness. And you verify this over and over again until your confidence in open awareness grows. You gain more and more evidence that the ups and downs of life and emotional states, and even tidal waves of emotions rush through this space of awareness. And like a tidal wave rushing through pure space, the pure space of awareness is completely unharmed and the waves disappear without a trace. Verify it for yourself. Next, you can allow the fear, allow the sensations to come to full fruition. You drop your resistance to them entirely by recognizing yourself as the whole space around them that doesn't resist them just by its nature. You remain in a spirit of openness, knowing that sensations may be highly uncomfortable, It may feel like electricity in your nervous system sometimes. And there may be all kinds of mental images about failure or catastrophe or having to ask people for help. But you realize that without conceptualizing yourself as a separate person, that these things are happening too, they're just happening. And on the ultimate level, when experienced completely impersonally as this awareness, they are essentially neutral. They are appearances on the screen of consciousness. So here's a practical example. Let's say you're about to do something that usually triggers fear. Maybe sending that email that could change everything, or stepping onto that stage. Instead of immediately going into the mind stories about what might go wrong, can you just pause for a moment? Can you notice that before all of those thoughts about the situation, there is simply this aware presence? And within this presence, physical sensations are appearing in the body. Maybe a tightness in the chest, butterflies in the stomach, or tension in the shoulders. Can you allow yourself to feel these sensations directly without personally identifying with the mental overlay of this shouldn't be happening or I need to calm down? You're not trying to change anything. You're simply being present with what's already here. And so this is where something profound can happen. As you remain present as awareness, allowing these sensations to be fully felt, you might notice that they begin to shift and move on their own. It's like they've been waiting to be acknowledged, not by a person who's trying to fix them, but as the loving, open space of consciousness itself. Within my own experience, it kind of feels like a bubble of energy, an intense bubble of energy located somewhere in the body, and coupled with muscle contractions, right? That seem to be contracting up on their own. And yet, in knowing that they can't harm me, I am free to give them my full attention and to allow myself to experience the raw fullness of the pulsating energy and even allow it to get worse. You can say to the sensations, okay, give me all you've got, and metaphorically dive into it. And you can allow yourself to think about all the thoughts and mental images that usually bring up that fear, like clicking send, announcing that offer, talking to that person and telling them the honest truth. And you can allow that imagining to bring up the fear sensations in your body, which underneath the label of fear are just sensations, and allow yourself to fully experience them while staying perceptually relaxed and rooted as open awareness. What's beautiful about this approach is that it's not just another technique for the mind to master. There are layers that you can add to it to catalyze the process of releasing specific fears. And there are approaches to get into the deeper layers to catalyze deep inner and outer transformation, which are ultimately seen as one. But on the ultimate level, it's ultimately about the recognition of what's already true. You are this space of awareness as which everything appears. The fear, the thoughts about the fear, the desire to get rid of the fear, it's all appearing within you, as you, this boundless consciousness. And from this recognition, the fear can be allowed to peak and subside, allowing action to flow naturally without trying to brute force yourself through the fear. You're not coming from a contracted place of trying to push through the fear or force it out of consciousness, but as the openness and natural allowing the sensations to be there, allowing and approaching them with love, patience, acceptance, thereby allowing them to be seen, move, release, and heal. And this is true trust. Not trust that everything will work out to the mind's preferences, or trying to brute force yourself into confidence by nervously pacing around your apartment chanting I am affirmations until you're blue in the face, but trust in the inherent completeness and peace of consciousness itself, your true nature. So, next time you feel fear arising, try this. First, notice if you're believing thoughts about being too fearful or needing to overcome the fear. Can you see that these are just more thoughts appearing in awareness? Then, bring your attention to the raw physical sensations in your body. Not to change them, but to simply notice what's here. What do you feel? Where do you feel it the most intensely? What are the qualities of these sensations? Can you allow them to be there by recognizing yourself as the allowingness? Can you welcome them by discovering the deeper parts of them with your attention, allowing them to come to full fruition and watching them peel back like layers of an onion and ultimately disappear without a trace? As you stay present with these emotions, you may notice they're not actually solid or fixed. They may pulse, shift, or move. Sometimes they intensify before releasing, and you may feel muscles vibrating or tingling over parts of your body. And this is natural. It's the body's natural healing intelligence at work. So after you've spent a while with the uncomfortable sensations, use your attention to find more of the comfortable, spacious, relaxing, and even pleasurable sensations. And as you do, notice that shift between the more uncomfortable feelings and the more comfortable ones. Allow yourself to relax into the more comfortable feelings and allow them to blossom in the same way. And enjoy it. This approach can be applied both in the moment and also in your sitting or lying meditations. I have found it particularly powerful to have sessions where I simply lie on my bed, feel the bodily sensations as intensely as possible, diving into them with my attention, after which they will shift and release in layers. And I've done a lot of this because personally I had a lot to process and release, and I'm still working through some remaining bits. But remember, you don't have to do all of this at once, or all of this in one go. You may have many years of repressed fears and emotions left dormant in the body. And as your life unfolds in stages, you release each layer in stages, but don't try to rush it. The process requires patience. It's done step by step, layer by layer, allowing new discoveries every time you peel back another layer. And you can be grateful for the process. Before, it felt like a never-ending arduous task, working through all these obstacles you've been cursed with. Now, you realize it to be the simple illusory barriers between your current circumstances or experience and everything you've ever wanted to manifest and learn about yourself. And so, the process, whilst undoubtedly being sometimes challenging, raw, and confronting, can also be joyous, revealing, fascinating, and enlightening, as it serves to point you back to the only thing you ever truly wanted, your true nature. Let me know in the comments below your experiences with releasing fear or applying this approach and how transformative recognizing these deeper truths can be. I love you all. See you in the next video. Peace.